We got divorced that morning. Later that day, I decided to buy a lottery ticket, and that's when I won the money.
Here to seek a fair distribution.
So of course the wife comes crawling back trying to get this money, even just a day after they were divorced, and there is absolutely no reason why he should have to give over any of it. But guys, today I have some of the craziest moments of women expecting things from their ex-boyfriends and husbands after they already broke up or divorced, and you won't want to miss a single insane clip.
So here's what we're gonna do then. So I don't make enough, so you don't need access to the bank accounts anymore. So I'm gonna go upstairs. No, shut up, shut up.
Don't be petty.
Shut up. So I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm gonna take your name off of all of the bank accounts.
I will get my lawyer. You cannot do that.
With what money?
It's illegal.
You can't afford a lawyer.
It's illegal. We're married. What's yours is mine. I own at least half of everything that you have. And if you even try, I will take you for all of it.
Go ahead.
It's illegal what you're trying to do.
Illegal. You think that you know what you're talking about because you were downstairs watching Legally Blonde.
She's smart as What do you mean?
So what?
She's a positive role model and she's smart as
What
so
you
of
can
course
do
she knows
is
the law, then I know the law. If she can do it, I can do it.
Okay, so here. Wow.
I mean, if anybody is being petty in this situation, it is very clearly the woman. I don't know what to tell you, and honestly, she is pretty tone deaf for not realizing what she is saying. She is the one who wants access to his money, but yet he doesn't make enough. If you truly feel that way, then you can go ahead and, you can pick up hours and make more money.
Come and play Russian roulette with me with my ex-husband's credit card. So, if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I have recently split from my ex. I've still got his old Monzo card from when we were living in the US. I'm actually at Lidl's, I'm gonna take you with me. We're gonna go and purchase some things for the kids, and we're gonna see if the credit card even works. Let's go and see.
So bravo on this woman because she just recorded and filmed herself committing fraud on TikTok, and this will be a very clear and easy case for the lawyer. Of course, I don't have to say it, but your ex-husband's credit cards should not even be in your possession anymore.
I'm divorced, and I'm here to ask the court for more spousal support. I think $100 a week extra would be fair with all the headaches he's given me and everything like that.
Why do you believe that's fair?
My wages have went down. I'm only working part-time now. He still gets those 2 raises every year.
I cannot grant you spousal maintenance just because he's made an increase from his wages.
Well,
when you all were divorced and you receive half of his 401k.
Buckle up, guys. Today we're going to witness a series of unbelievable moments where breakups somehow become an excuse for outrageous financial demands. From a wife insisting she owns everything her husband has, to an ex openly filming herself using his credit card, and finally a courtroom where someone expects even more support after already receiving a huge settlement. Every scene raises the same question. Where does personal responsibility begin? Stick around because this story only gets wilder.
Hey, how much was that?
About $250,000.
Okay, well, you know what? I feel like you came here to waste my time, because I cannot give you an increase in spousal maintenance just because you're asking for it. No, ma'am.
25?
Even $5, the answer is no.
So not only did she receive $250,000 when they got divorced, but she is working less hours, and it's on her that she's working a part-time job now instead of full-time, really. I mean, if she wants more money, she can simply just go and, pick up another job or work more hours.
We got divorced that morning. And then, as you can see from the receipt, later that day, I decided to buy a lottery ticket. And that's when I won the money. So it was clearly after the divorce. She has no claim on that money. This is really a waste of all of our time.
I supported this man for 7 years. He got this ticket using our shared account. and then that he got it before our divorce papers were finalized. Again, I'm here to seek a clear distribution.
Your divorce is finalized at 9 a.m. that morning?
Yes, correct.
I submitted a receipt from when I purchased lottery ticket. You can see clearly it was at 12:30 in the afternoon. She was the one that asked for the divorce from me.
Ms. Taylor, you're the one who filed for divorce. Unfortunately, all of it belongs to him. As you stated, your divorce was finalized. I am sorry, but the law is the law. Case dismissed.
It's not clear, you know?
I mean, it's wild to even argue the point that you should be receiving any of that money because very clearly you guys were already divorced. And honestly, I'm pretty sure for this man that completely eradicated all his trust, at least in the time being for, you know, his family and future partners.
My husband and I have been separated for about 2 months. Today I received a message from him saying that he's gonna be removing me from the car insurance. And when I asked him when my last day with insurance would be, he said it's tomorrow. So I have to shop around. I have to find my own car insurance. And I had previously asked him if he could just keep me on there and I would give him my part of the insurance since that would be cheaper for me. But he says he prefers to just remove me. So tomorrow I'll be without insurance. I have the kids 4 days a week and he has them 3. And since his family is there, he is able to work as much as he used to before when I used to stay at home. But I have nobody to help me watch my kids. And I'm really not gonna leave them with just anybody, so I can only work 3 days a week. I make $120 a day. Sometimes I work Saturdays, I make $60 on Saturdays, so that means 1 week I make $420 and the other one I make $360. So I thought it would be okay if he just kept me in the insurance and I would give him the money, which would be around $100. But today again he said no, so I've been looking, it's around $200 for me to get it by myself. And right now it just feels like I can't do it. I know I can, but it just feels like I can't.
So let me get this straight. You guys are not together anymore, you guys divorced, you guys separated, and you still expect him to pay for your car insurance, and you're on TikTok crying about it because you guys got divorced. I mean, I don't even know what to say. What is the issue here? Why do you expect him to pay for your car insurance?
Just because I cheated on you does not mean that your responsibilities as my husband don't apply.
You didn't just say that.
What do you mean I did just say that?
I'm not gonna pay for that cruise.
I'm spitting straight facts right now.
So you really think that after cheating on me, I'm gonna pay for your girls trip?
Dude, you cannot be serious.
Like 5 married women alone?
Yes! Yes!
Wow.
Yes!
Wow.
What's the goddamn issue?
Your voice is just so annoying.
Excuse me?
It's so annoying.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What the is wrong with you? Why would you say that?
You are what's wrong with me.
All right, guys, the drama reaches another level as a man wins the lottery only hours after his divorce becomes official. Yet his ex-wife still believes she's entitled to the jackpot. The courtroom quickly settles that argument. But the surprises don't stop there. We then see another ex upset over losing car insurance after separation, followed by a shocking conversation where a woman expects her husband to keep paying for her lifestyle even after admitting she cheated. These moments show just how complicated entitlement can become once a relationship ends.
I'm what's wrong with you.
So he does not have to provide a single cent of value to her, and it sounds like she does not care at all that his ex-wife cheated.
So my baby daddy just left, and he's questioning me because I told him that I need more money. So he gonna pull up talking about what you did with the money. You give me $900 a month in child support every single month. It's April 8th, so it's been 8 days. So when you gave it to me on the 1st, it's gone now.
What? What?
He be thinking like, oh, like I just be spending the money all recklessly. I do not. You gave me $900. I had to go get my hair done. I had to get my toes done because the dude that I was messing with, this YN, he kept saying I was scratching him with my damn feet, my damn toenails. So I had to go get my toes done, or else he was gonna leave me. What I'm supposed to do?
Alright, so she's talking about her hair, toes, and nails. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You really clearly do not have your priorities set straight if you're using your child support money on this, which is, as the name implies, for your child.
17 years of my life with an elderly man who smelled like cabbage, just to be told I've got nothing in the will, nothing, and he was worth £33 million. And you think this is funny? I have wasted my life with a geriatric coffin dodger for nothing. And why everyone thinks it's so funny that my husband donated all his money to a bunch of cats and dogs. Who even likes cats and dogs? I'm literally going to be homeless. Like, I've got no money. Not even my own house or my car. Like, I'm literally going to be poor. I'm going to have to shop in Asda, like all the other poor people. Not Asda. I've wasted my life thinking I was going to get millions by marrying that elderly coffin dodger. And he looked like a shriveled up prune.
So that is completely on you for, being with this man solely for the money, as we can tell, by the things that she is saying. He was a smelly old man. Obviously, this is a young woman. It is very clear what the dynamic was like in that relationship.
I would never in a million years teach my girls that they have to grow up to be reliant on a man, as you can well imagine. I would never teach my son that he should be attracted.
But Tracy, you're the same one. You're the same one who bragged that she's so strong and so tough and doesn't need a man's money. Yet you're taking alimony.
I have 3 children.
Okay, Mark.
You know what?
But you don't need a man's money.
So he very quickly and clearly destroyed her whole argument. Just because you have 3 children, she was basically saying before that she should be able to provide for all of them so she doesn't have to rely on anyone else's income.
You realize that I'm still gonna get half. Keep getting these notifications or calls from people saying I'm applying for apartments.
Why are you annoyed with that?
Because obviously I live here. Why would I didn't even put my name for them.
Well, you're not going to be living here for long because I found that you have an active Tinder profile that kind of explains why you haven't been here recently. So what I did, and you should be thanking me by the way instead of bitch, but what I did was I put your name down for a bunch of apartment rentals because you're not living here anymore. I've been way
Buckle up, guys, because this section delivers one unbelievable moment after another. A mother casually admits spending child support on herself instead of her child. Another woman complains about being left out of a millionaire's inheritance despite openly admitting she married for money. And a heated divorce argument exposes the reality of demanding half the assets while abandoning the marriage. Every clip highlights how accountability often disappears when money becomes the center of the conversation.
Too lenient with this, and you clearly don't care. You don't care about this place. You don't care about me. You don't care about our kids.
If you're wanting to split, then I'm still entitled to half the stuff. I don't know why you would apply for these things.
Half of what stuff? You're not here to use half the stuff. So you're not getting anything.
I'm here right now.
Yeah, not for long.
So not only did this man confront her for cheating and she did not care, but she continues to insist that she needs to get half of everything that this man makes. Absolutely wild that she takes no accountability, and the only thing she cares about is the fact that she is not going to have half of his assets.
You ready? I forgot my wallet. You might have to use your card.
Oh no, baby! We're gonna have to turn back around and go back to the house.
For what?
I only wanted to come because I thought we was using your money.
Shawty, no,
I'm not laughing. I'm like dead serious. Yes, I know I got my own money, but it's better when I don't spend my own money and I spend your money. So we gonna have to make a U-turn, go back to the house, and get your wallet, and then we can go.
No, I work hard for my money, so you work hard for your money to spend it, so spend your own money.
Okay, but your money
I don't have your wallet.
Listen, I'm finna explain it to you. Your money is my money. My money is not your money, okay? That's how it works in this relationship. We have a very good relationship. It works for us. So we're going to have to turn back around, go back to the house, get your wallet. I'm not spending my own money in Target. I was only coming because I thought you was paying for everything.
Well, I don't have to, so you going to go on Target and use your own card.
Baby, that's all right. We'll go home. We can go home.
I mean, her reaction to this is absolutely priceless. It seems like this man usually pays, for the groceries, so once in a while, I'm just saying, the woman probably can. It's really not that crazy of a favor to ask.
Mr. Van Til, you filed a motion to cease spousal support, and your motion's based on the fact that Ms. Van Til remarried at the end of 2024, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Van Til, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you contesting discontinuing continuation of the spousal support?
To an extent, I feel that I was pretty generous back in 2021 when I let him off on over $12,000 in arrearages at the time. I'm willing to drop down to $500 a month for, let's say, another 3 years.
Okay. Mr. Van Til, what's your position on that?
No, I disagree.
I reviewed the original judgment of divorce, and it does allow for the court to modify spousal support based on a change in circumstances. Ms. Van Til, and frankly, I'm surprised it doesn't contain the language that if you remarry, typically once a party remarries, I mean, that's a change in circumstances that warrants the cessation of payment of spousal support. And the whole idea of spousal support is that you don't have the assistance of your marital partner anymore to support you. And when you get remarried, that's no longer the case. So it really, to me, the only fact here that would be a potential issue is whether or not you were actually married or remarried, I should say. And it sounds like that's not a fact that's in dispute. So for that reason, the court finds that the spousal support should cease.
So this is a basic concept to grasp. If you remarry, it's kind of assumed that, you have another partner in your life that is also helping you with your finances, especially something like spousal support. This isn't child support. This is money, straight into her bank account meant for her. But guys, you will not want to miss this insane last clip.
A man upgraded her life, then they broke up, but she wants the upgrades to stay.
I had a guy get me a Benz before and put me in a loft space and, set my whole life up differently than what it was normally. And I feel like if you brought me to like this level, and then we didn't work out, but we're still friends, we didn't have beef and no one cheated. It was just didn't work out. But I wasn't going to move from my space because it didn't work out. I wasn't going to give him back my car because I'm not going to downgrade my lifestyle because me and you are no longer together. And I just feel like if you put me in this space and that was under your budget, then what's the difference now?
He gave you the upgrade, but part of that upgrade is because you're with me. So I'm supposed to keep paying your loft and keep paying your Benz. Now I get it. You're a true boss if you do that. And that's the vibe we're getting. Jazz.
No, it's just I'm not moving and you're going to have to deal with it.
Either way, you have to pay stay with me. If you want to live like this, it comes with being with me.
Okay.
Facts. You want him to keep your lifestyle up, keep paying your bills, keep you on that same upgraded level. No, you were dating a man that had money, so dating him came with a lifestyle. But if we're not working and our love is dead, I don't owe you to keep paying your car note and your mortgage.
I really don't understand where the entitlement is coming from. Some of the people in this video expect the entire world handed to them for doing absolutely nothing in return. And if you're not together anymore and you had a bad breakup, why would the other...
All right, guys, we finished with some of the strongest moments in the entire video. A debate over whose money should be spent quickly turns into a lesson about fairness, while a judge makes it crystal clear that remarriage ends the purpose of spousal support. The final discussion pushes the entitlement argument even further, as someone expects an ex-partner to continue funding a luxury lifestyle after the relationship is over. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.